Ever imagine a fleet of battleships, right out of a movie, facing off against not just firepower, but like a swarm of smart missiles?
Yeah, almost like something out of science fiction.
Exactly. That's what we're diving into today, AI-powered missiles.
A real game changer.
Totally. We've got reports and analyses, even a tech explainer video lined up, all to get you up to speed on this rapidly changing tech.
And it's not sci-fi anymore. These systems are being developed right now, with Europe's MBDA and America's Lockheed Martin kind of leading the pack.
So they're locked in a race to make missiles, what, smarter? Faster.
Yeah, and deadlier than ever before.
Let's break it down, starting with MBDA. They've got this thing called Orca Strike. What's that all about?
Orca Strike is all about collaboration, but not how we normally think. Imagine, like, a team of missiles all talking to each other mid-flight.
Well, hold on. Sharing data, adjusting course.
Right, even deciding which targets to hit and how. It's about maximizing their impact, but minimizing risks.
So like giving these missiles like a hive mind, each one a part of a larger, smarter whole.
Exactly. And MBDA is showing this off with their Spear missile, compact but powerful, designed for fighter jets. Imagine a jet armed with not one, but dozens of these Spear missiles.
Each one making decisions.
On its own.
That's got to be a game changer. But how does it actually work in like a real combat situation?
Picture a Spear missile launched into a chaotic battlefield. It's not just following a set path, it's taking in information from other spears.
From surveillance aircraft, maybe even satellites.
It can pick out and prioritize targets on its own, say choosing to go after a command center instead of a tank.
Yeah.
All based on what it's seeing.
So these missiles are making life or death decisions in the heat of battle.
In a way, yes. But there's still a human calling the shots. You know, they set the goals, the overall plan.
Okay, so it's not quite Skynet from Terminator just yet.
Not quite.
But it's still a massive shift in how we think about warfare. And it seems like the U.S. military is right there with them, with Lockheed Martin's LRASM program.
Absolutely. The LRASM, that's a long-range anti-ship missile, is a heavy hitter, made for taking out those big naval vessels.
Okay, so say I'm the captain of a destroyer.
Yeah.
Right, facing a wave of these LRASMs. What makes them so different from like your typical anti-ship missile?
Well, for one, the LRASM is really hard to jam or throw off course. Traditional missiles, they rely a lot on GPS, but the LRASM uses a bunch of sensors and advanced algorithms to lock onto its target.
Even in tricky situations?
Exactly. It's like trying to disappear in a crowded room, but this missile has facial recognition. It cuts through all the noise.
Oh, what's it doing? Analyzing radar, thermal images?
It even compares the ship's shape to a database of enemy vessels.
Hmm.
And it's doing all this while sharing intel with other LRASMs nearby.
Coordinating their attack.
For maximum impact.
Sounds incredibly sophisticated and more than a little scary. What happens if my destroyer just throws everything it has at these LRASMs coming in?
That's where the AI really shines. It reacts instantly to countermeasures. Decoys, you name it.
It can tell what's real and what's a distraction.
Adjusting its course, even sharing that info with other missiles in the swarm.
Like trying to swat a swarm of bees that can predict your every move.
Exactly.
So you're saying these AI-powered missiles are changing the game at sea, but what about the bigger picture? The global balance of power. How's this all fit in?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's something we'll get into in the next part of our deep dive.
So we were talking about how these AI-powered missiles could really shake things up in naval warfare. But you were saying the impact goes beyond just ships and submarines, right?
Yeah, way beyond. This tech, it's like it could have ripple effects, affecting global power dynamics in ways we can't even predict right now.
Okay, so unpack that a bit for me. What does it mean for, like, the existing world order when these types of weapons become more common?
Well, think about it. For decades, naval power, it's been all about aircraft carriers.
Right, huge, expensive.
Yeah, symbols of military might. But then what happens when a small number of these AI-guided missiles, maybe launched from halfway across the world, can take out one of those symbols? It changes everything.
It's like that old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. But in this case, it's not about size, it's about how smart the weapon is.
Exactly. And that levels the playing field in a way we haven't really seen before. Smaller countries, maybe with fewer resources, they could get their hands on these weapons.
And suddenly, they're a serious threat.
To even the big guys, the established powers.
So this is a potential game changer for those countries that have always relied on being the biggest, toughest one on the block.
Yeah, in a way. But it also makes things way less predictable. Imagine a regional conflict breaks out, right? And one side, they use these AI-powered missiles. Things could escalate so fast.
Pulling in other countries because now they feel threatened?
It's like a domino effect, yeah. The use of these weapons could set off a chain reaction with consequences no one saw coming.
And that unpredictability, that's what has people worried.
A lot of analysts, policymakers, yeah, they're concerned. It's not enough anymore to just look at how big a country's military is. You have to factor in if they have access to this kind of disruptive tech.
It's not about how many ships or planes you have. It's about how smart your weapons are.
Precisely. It's a whole new ballgame. It forces everyone to rethink their strategies, their alliances, even what it means to deter an enemy.
We've been talking a lot about the big picture strategy stuff, but what about the human element in all of this? How do you even begin to train soldiers to fight alongside or maybe even against these AI-powered weapons?
That's another huge thing to consider with this technology. You can't just hand someone an AI-powered weapon and expect them to know what to do with it.
Right, because it's not like a regular drone where you've got a pilot controlling every move remotely. These missiles are thinking for themselves based on algorithms and data.
And that takes a different approach to training, one that focuses on understanding what the AI can and can't do, how to make sense of all the information it's throwing at you. It's about humans and machines working together, you know?
So the AI is a tool to make great decisions.
Not to replace human judgment entirely.
So we're talking about a future where soldiers need to be as comfortable with code as they are with, combat tactics?
In a way, yeah. We need to bridge that gap between human intuition and what the machine intelligence is telling us. And that means investing in the right training and education.
The whole new way of thinking about warfare, where the battle for, technological dominance is just as important as what's happening on the ground, at sea, or in the air.
And that's what makes this technology so fascinating, right? It's not just about making smarter weapons, it's about rethinking the very nature of conflict in the 21st century.
And speaking of reimagining things, we've mostly focused on what AI-powered missiles look like right now. But what does the future hold?
Yeah, what's next on the horizon? That's the question that everyone in the defense industry wants the answer to. And it's something we'll dig into more in the final part of our deep dive.
We've spent this deep dive, really getting into these AI-powered missiles, from how they actually work to how they could change global strategy. But like anything new, anything disruptive, the big question is, where do we go from here? What does the future hold?
Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? If I had that crystal ball, I wouldn't be here, that's for sure.
Right. Cocktails on the beach somewhere.
Exactly. But in all seriousness, we can look at the trends, see what's emerging, and kind of try to connect the dots.
It's always a bit of a guessing game, though, right?
It is. It is. But one thing's for certain, the AI arms race, it's not slowing down. Faster processing, new algorithms, the ability to analyze even more data, all in real time.
So what are we talking about? Like a missile that doesn't just know what type of aircraft it's targeting?
Imagine a missile that could read the pilot's name on the canopy.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. That's both impressive and a little unnerving. I mean, are we headed towards a future where human soldiers are basically obsolete, replaced by these swarms of AI-controlled weapons?
It's a common fear, for sure. Movies haven't helped with that, right? But the reality is it's more complicated than that. Even with all this AI, human judgment, that gut feeling, it's still vital, especially in the chaos of war where things are always changing.
So it's more about finding that synergy, that right mix of human and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Think of a surgeon, right? Using a robotic arm for a really delicate procedure. The robot is amazing, precise, but the surgeon, they're the ones in control, making the calls.
I get it. So the AI is a tool to make better decisions.
Exactly. It can help commanders process mountains of data, spot threats, but that final decision to actually engage, to take the shot, that probably always needs a human touch. At least that's the hope.
That makes sense, I think. But as these systems get more advanced, more interconnected, doesn't that also make them more vulnerable? I can't help but think of those sci-fi movies, the AI going rogue.
Those movies, they're entertaining for a reason, right? But they highlight a real issue, cybersecurity. The more we rely on networks, on systems talking to each other, the more vulnerable we become to hacking, to sabotage, what we call electronic warfare.
So the battlefields of the future, they're not just about physical weapons.
It's about who controls the information, who can find and exploit those weaknesses in these really complex systems.
What does that look like? Give me an example.
Imagine an enemy hacks into a swarm of AI-powered missiles, right? But they don't destroy them, they take control, turn them against their own forces. That's a game changer, no doubt.
Yeah, that's not a comforting thought. Sounds like the future of warfare is as much about ones and zeros as it is about bullets and bombs.
And that's where we're headed. AI-powered missiles, they're just one piece of a much bigger picture. Cyber warfare, autonomous drones, even AI that can analyze intelligence and try to predict an enemy's next move. It's a brave new world, full of potential, but a lot of risks, too.
It really is. So, as we wrap things up here, what's the main takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
AI-powered missiles, they're not just another weapon, it's a fundamental shift. They could reshape the world as we know it, change how we think about conflict and what it means to deter an enemy. It's a technology that needs our attention. We have to think about it carefully and, most importantly, be ready to adapt because this tech, it's not stopping. It's only going to keep evolving.
Well said. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive is giving you a glimpse into this world, this rapidly changing world of AI-powered warfare. It's a lot to process, for sure. Stay curious, stay informed, and never stop asking the tough questions. We'll see you next time.